Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm your host, Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a quarantined Charles Coulombe.
Quarantined?
Yeah,
you mean like shut down?
Yeah, except for realsies this time.
Trapped in my room under house arrest.
Yeah.
But not for political reasons. No. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to come clean. This past week, I have been exposed to COVID. The whole school is closed. Monday, we start online classes. But I will not know if I am, I will not know if I'm positive. Well, you'll know. I don't know. I may know by tomorrow night. I'll certainly know by Monday night. So I may know the outcome by the time you see this, whether I'm positive or negative. Either way, your prayers would be very, very welcome. I feel a little under the weather, but that could be just being trapped in my room for the past 3 days. Could be a spring cold. I don't know. I do know this much. Because I was sitting right next to a person who was positive, if I am negative, it's really going to make me wonder how the thing is spread.
Did you wear your mask?
No, I didn't wear my mask. It was ridiculous. It was, no.
Then all the liberals will say you should have wore your mask.
The person involved was wearing a mask and always wears a mask.
Ooh. Well, that's how it's supposed to work anyway. Because you're
what, they get infected?
No, that's supposed to you wear the mask for the other people, so your particles.
Yeah, but she was wearing a mask.
I know. Okay. Well, I guess that means masks don't do anything then.
I don't know what it means. And if I'm negative, I don't know what that means either.
That means masks do something.
Maybe. Or it could mean I've already had it and I'm immune and didn't know. Or it may be nothing. I don't know. I have no idea. What I do know is that I am feeling a little down. Touch of fever.
Yeah.
But I popped one of these.
Put that on the screen a little bit more. We couldn't see what you got there. What is film?
Novalgin.
What is that?
It's like Tylenol.
Oh.
It's a fever reducer. They use it for pains and inflammations and stuff like that. So I felt somewhat better since popping it. So I guess it works. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, this is a win-win because if I'm negative, I'm negative. If I'm positive and it's not too bad, then when I'm finished with it, I should be able to travel freely between the U.S. and Austria.
I hope you're right.
I hope so too.
Reading the news, unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be the case because we're not going to get into it. I don't want to get into it. Everybody gets heated about this. We're not going to talk about it.
All I can tell you is that Governor Newsom needs to win his recall election.
Why?
Well, because he'll be out of a job if he doesn't. That's why. I'm not saying be good for us. I say that's what he needs. And so I think you're going to find California opens up pretty quickly.
I hope so.
Now, mind you, if he wins, it may shut down quite as quickly. At any rate, on a couple of happy notes, Musso and Frank's is reopened. And, if that wasn't enough to be jolly, Chez Mimi, which closed back in 2010, the French restaurant run by the inimitable Mimi Hébert, the French-Canadian restaurateuse in LA, has reopened as Petit Chez Mimi in Santa Monica. And at 80 years old and in a wheelchair, she's back in the game. She reopened in November.
Wow, very cool.
So if I make it home this summer, I am going to beat tracks there.
Did she also come up with Mimi's restaurant?
No.
You know, I just found out they don't have Mimi's on the East Coast.
No, that's right. It's totally West Coast.
Yeah, my sister just discovered it, and I was like, "Wait, we have them all over here." But yeah, just one of those regional things. It's fascinating to me what is here and not there, and what's over there and not here. It's just interesting to me.
Regional is good. Regionalism is good.
Yeah.
Now, having said all of this, I also have to remind you of what last night was and what today is.
Of course.
Last night, all of you should have been in your beds, shivering in fright, like Halloween or St. John's Eve, because it was May Eve, Walpurgisnacht. Here, outside anti-COVID, there will be bonfires on Walpurgisnacht to disorient the witches on their way to the Sabbath at the Brocken. Oof. But in Ireland, it's kind of a less dark holiday. More elven, as you might say. More fairies, more leprechaunish. So.
What disorients witches?
Well, in Central Europe, it's believed that on Walpurgisnacht, the witches from all over go to a mountain in the Harz Mountains in Germany and have their big annual witches' Sabbath. In the Balkans, it was believed that this was the night, or that last night was the night for vampires to roam.
So, did you say so people do bonfires? Is that what you said?
I did.
I see.
The idea being that the bonfires will disorient the witches as they fly on their brooms.
How did that start? Witches flying on brooms. Was that really a thing?
I don't know. I've never done it myself. I couldn't tell you.
You can't say that because...
Yes, I can. I've never floated broomstick.
Well, you've also never seen a vampire, but there are accounts of...
Well, there are accounts of witches on broomsticks. There are.
There are where? Like what time period? Like, can you give us details?
Not really, because I don't remember. But 1400s, 1500s, they would claim that they flew to the Brocken using brooms and other things. Poor ones had to use mops, I suppose.
I don't think they had mops back in those days.
Really poor ones had to fly on dust. Those duster things, you know.
Yeah. Feather dusters?
Feather dusters, that's right. If you were really poor, a really poor witch, and all you could afford was a feather duster, well, they didn't think too much of you.
Yeah.
But no, so that is the dreadful story of Walpurgisnacht. The next day, however, was May Day, the month of Our Lady. C'est le mois de Maria, c'est le mois le plus beau. It's the month of Mary. It's the most beautiful month. Bring flowers of the fairest, bring flowers of the rarest, from woodland and farmland and something in dale. Yep. Our Lady goes a-maying. Because, of course, on May Day, well, May was the first month that was completely out of winter's maw, usually. And so people were very, very big on going out into the greenery and picking flowers. And of course, dancing around the maypole was a big deal. It's also, however, it was traditionally the feast of Saints Philip and James. But in 1954, Pope Pius XII knocked them over onto May 3rd and made it the feast of St. Joseph the Worker, to combat the idea of May Day as a communist holiday. But while that was Pope Pius XII's reaction to May Day, the United States had two others which we celebrate on this day. And I'll bet you never heard of either of them, even though every president since Eisenhower has proclaimed both of them.
Oh, Law Day, as in like
The law. We honor the rule of law. We have respect for the rule of law and for our legal system, which is the foundation of our much prized liberties and stuff.
Okay, what's the second day?
It is likened to the first, Loyalty Day, in which we affirm our loyalty to the United States and to the American way of life.
Okay.
Are you all right?
It's just a little abstract.
No, it's not abstract at all. In fact, I tweeted about Law Day today, and I posted on Facebook about both Law Day and Loyalty Day. Because you see, Law Day celebrates the common law, which is the legal system under which we live. But that common law was invented where?
I don't know, Rome? Great Britain? What?
Yeah, England.
England.
And in origin, it was put together under what faith and what governmental form?
Catholicism? Monarchy?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you know what you're looking for, those things are all through it. I made that point in Star Spangled Crown. So you see, when the American Bar Association on this day talks about how our wonderful system of laws is the foundation of our rights and liberties, they're right. And they were given to us by the altar and the throne.
Not Hammurabi?
No.
Why not?
And this is something you see that we Americans spend our time trying to forget, if we even think about it. But now, Loyalty Day.
Okay.
I did zero in on loyalty today. And you know upon whom I zeroed in on?
No idea.
A lady who was the child of loyalists in our revolution, married a man who was the son of loyalists, grew up seeing the abuse the loyalists endured in New York after the revolution, converted to Catholicism, and became our first native-born American saint, Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton. So I chose her as the patroness for Loyalty Day.
You don't have the authority to do that.
Yeah, I do. I self-identify. I do. I just did it.
Well, okay. Every man a king.
Yeah. And that's not all. You can show your your love of Loyalty Day by honoring the memories of those great founding fathers who were responsible for the start of the United States. Felipe II of Spain, Louis XIII of France, and Louis XIV, and James I and Charles I of Great Britain, and James II and Charles II. All founding fathers.
Wonderful.
What?
Sounds great, Charles. Yeah, the founding fathers.
Well,
you really rattled them off right there. Yeah.
I did. Think about it. I mean, Carlos III of Spain as well, who's the founding father of California.
Can't forget him. The city of Los Angeles.
That's right. He did the greatest thing any monarch in the entire world ever did, from the time of Adam to our present.
That's right.
He founded Los Angeles, than which there is no greater accomplishment in all the stories of history.
Yes.
Well, anyway, maybe I don't believe it either, but I don't mind saying it.
All right. Anything else, Charles?
Well, yes. I guess so. You see, I was strolling through the park one day in the merry, merry month of May when I was taken by surprise by a pair of pretty eyes in the merry, merry month of May.
That fits perfectly into our meme of production for the this episode. We have one submission of nationalize the memes. Yeah. Oh.
You do it.
Nationalize the memes of production.
For the common good.
Okay, a YouTube comment from Pat. She says, "Sing us a song off the menu, man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody, and Tyrone's gonna shoot us on sight."
You know, that is lovely. Thank you very much for that. I mean, that is the off-the-menu equivalent of fan fiction, and I know we're both very grateful. That's great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Really good. Yeah. So.
And she's right about Tyrone. Boy, oh boy.
Tyrone protects. Can you really fault him for protecting those he loves?
No. I would never fault Tyrone for nothing. I don't understand Tyrone's good side. I've been able to do it these past 17 years. I'll keep on doing it. I told you, he was practically hand-fed growing up by your uncle.
That's right. All right.
A beautiful story.
For another time. All right.
Certainly not for the Senate Investigatorial Committee.
All right. First question for this episode is from Tom. Right. One of the most important questions we've ever received. He says, picture this. Charles finds himself stuck in the elevator between the 12th and 13th floor of the Tumbler House Tower. The only other passenger of this dread-filled ride is a 63-year-old male, retired, Unitarian Universalist minister from upstate New York with a penchant for local history, wherever he may find himself at the present moment, genealogy, and the golden age of Hollywood. Oh, and he's a homosexual. My question is this. How does Charles begin to go about evangelizing this fellow?
I would talk with him about the missions and the various Catholic movie stars in the golden age of Hollywood. And as soon as the elevator got going again, if we stopped at the 13th floor, I'd say, after you.
That's not very Christian.
No, well, this is not. I'm always nice. No, but I mean, I would look for some common interest, and that would be the missions and the Catholics of the Golden Age, Gary Cooper and so on. Loretta Young.
But he's from upstate New York, though. And he's a Unitarian Universalist. Have you taken those considerations into your decision?
Well, he was from upstate. Depends on how far upstate. If he's far enough upstate, I'll be able to talk about the French Canadians. If not, if he's further down, I'll talk about the Dutch. And Unitarians, I probably will make small talk. I'll tell my Unitarian jokes to him because Unitarians always love hearing them and they always laugh.
All right.
They do. It's very true. One of the things that always gets them giggling is when I mention that Ralph Waldo Emerson was a Unitarian minister, but gave it up because it was too dogmatic. That always gets a laugh, especially from Unitarian ministers.
Thomas Jefferson was Unitarian, no? He's the one who said, yeah, he's got that quote that from Puritan's Empire, right?
Yep. If there was not a young man, he gave thanks that By the time he would die, there would not be a young man in this country who would not call himself a Unitarian. He was wrong.
All right. Question from Mason. Do you think Catholic converts with names such as Luther or Calvin change their names when they convert? What are the arguments for and against such a change?
I can see why having a name like Mason, this is the kind of issue that would definitely hit you. I get it. Well, there are a couple of ways you could look at it. Firstly, it's certainly true that Luther and Calvin are kind of odd names for a Catholic. But, so some people would doubtless change them. But if that's what you were named, I would try to redeem it. I mean, I knew of a Father Luther, I forget his first name, but he was some sort of a collateral descendant of Martin Luther. And he always made a lot of fun about that. And of course, you'd be able to say that you're the Catholic Luther or the Catholic Calvin, which would be a conversation starter, if nothing else. Because with a name like that, if you were a Catholic, it'd be the most natural thing in the world to mention it. Plus, those were Catholic names once, these Catholic family names. So, nothing wrong with you redeeming them.
I'm friends with a Catholic family in Pennsylvania with the last name of Luther, and I never even thought of it, at least with the last name.
My late and much lamented Aunt Jenny's best friend in Westchester was a lady named Mary Jane Luther, and never thought about it.
Yeah. Right, a question from Robert. Wow, this looks like a really good question.
I hope it is.
All right, so he says, "Greetings, Mr. Coulombe and Mr. Franchini. I have been reading Blessed Charles of Austria, which I picked up at the Tumbler House bookstore with free shipping, no CODs. $27.95, free shipping and handling. Send in a book review to get $5 off your order instantly."
Right now, while supplies last.
Operators are standing by. Limited time offer. Void where prohibited.
Be the first on your block.
Batteries not included. All right.
Some assembly required.
Oh, that's a good one, Charles. That's a solid addition right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some assembly required. That was really important. I think they said that for a lot of toys too, because
Yes.
they'd always make it look amazing, but it's really hard to put together. Yeah.
That's why it never looked like the picture in the comic book. I know.
Yeah. Some assembly. Wow. Isn't that amazing though? Like, we've done this for so long and they're still sort of trickling out like that. It just doesn't end.
Well, squeezing the memory. Do you remember the Sea Monkeys?
Yes.
They never looked anything like the ads.
That's true. All right. So anyhow, so Robert's question, he says, "Reading about Blessed Charles has inspired me to look into other royal saints and blesseds. One that has captivated my attention is Saint Henry II, Holy Roman Emperor. Could Mr. Coulombe please indulge us in what he knows about this other imperial saint? Would also love any book recommendations on his life."
Well, I don't know any. Unfortunately, I don't know any books on his life, but he was a fascinating character. He was the cousin of Otto III. He himself was the last of the Saxon dynasty, which started with Henry the Fowler, Henry I. Then you had Otto I, Otto II, Otto III, who was the son of a Byzantine princess and the Holy Roman Emperor, and so was very much resolved on restoring the Roman Empire as it had been. He did not succeed. He died young. But his cousin became emperor and was also extremely devout. Uh, he had wanted to become a monk, but he was sent back, and he married a lady named Kunigunda, and they had a Josephite marriage, so they're both canonized saints. As a result, they founded a lot of monasteries and so forth, and particularly they founded the diocese and cathedral of Bamberg, which is where his shrine is. Moreover, he was sort of a personal hero to the Graf von Stauffenberg, who was the fellow who tried to blow up Hitler, and who was a native of Württemberg, but whose cavalry regiment, the so-called Bamberger Reiterei, the Bamberg Cavalry, were based in that town. So he was he was very fond of the figure of Saint Henry the Emperor. Remarkable fellow, and of course, after he died, down to the present, miracles and so forth. And that was the story of Saint Henry the Emperor.
Around what time did he live? Or what century?
Oh, he would have lived in the 11th century, in the beginning of the 11th century. His cousin Otto died about, I think, 1003, and he became emperor then.
Speaking of Otto, Robert sent in another question. He says, "Greetings, gentlemen. I have one question for Charles regarding Holy Emperor Otto I, traditionally called Otto the Great. He was hailed as a savior of Christendom for stopping the Magyars from invading further into Europe, but clashed."
Oh boy, that was, without that, Europe would have been completely annihilated. I mean, you're a quarter of Magyar. You know this. You know what you guys are like. What? No, it's fine. You guys enjoy raiding and plundering. It's a Magyar thing. The rest of us just wouldn't understand, but you do. And you combine that Magyar sense of grasping everything you can get your hands on with, well, Italian descent of a particular kind.
You got me, Charles. Guilty as charged.
It is true. I mean, basically, imagine Attila the Hun as a mob boss.
Just grabbing everything that he comes across. Just
everything.
Going across the map. Oh, man.
Yep. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going in the wagon. Everything. But this could be of no possible use to you. I don't care. Put in wagon now, or you die. Now, see, there's a reason why the Magyars did not make good mafia bosses.
Why is that?
They were very open.
What do you mean?
When a horde is plundering, there's no finesse.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, there's no, you couldn't imagine Attila the Hun putting his arm around the shoulder of someone and saying, you're a smart guy. I like you. I'd like to see you prosper, grow. It would be so unfortunate if something unpleasant happened to you or any of your wonderful, lovely family. You could not imagine Attila the Hun saying that.
Yeah, perhaps he didn't quite have that sort of subtlety and tact.
No, but you see, you combine the two, the ruthlessness of the one and the subtlety of the other.
Yeah, the hybrid.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Well, I don't want to make any invidious comparisons, but let's just say that since your father brought home his Magyar bride, there was a definite change in style in the way the outfits. In the way that the family business has been run.
That's for sure. It was a very advantageous marriage. All right.
I didn't mean outfit per se.
You're right. No, we know what we got it, Charles.
Okay.
All right.
I could be more explicit if you want me to.
No, please don't. All right.
Okay.
All right. Robert goes on to say, so Otto the Great was hailed as a savior of Christendom for stopping the Magyars from invading further into Europe, but clashed several times with the Vicar of Christ himself. I've read that the emperor had even deposed some popes, invoking the imperial office's role as defender of the church. Were these papal deposals valid, or were they sacrilegiously illicit? Some at the time, and even now, have suggested that the emperor's role regarding papal deposals is to summon a synod or church council that would effectively depose a wayward pope. Isn't the papacy supposed to be without equal, even in temporal matters? As always, God bless to you and the Book Baron and all of Tumblr House.
Well, you have to remember a few things. One is that it was Otto the Great who not only drove off the Magyars so that they could learn a little finesse and settle down in Hungary and, begin to understand the ways of civilized people, of behavior, of learning how to cooperate with other members of society in mutually advantageous endeavors. I remember your uncle always used to say, reciprocity, my boy, reciprocity. One hand washes the other. Never forget that. Anyway, suffice to say that the papacy, when Otto came down from Germany, was in the grip of the pornocracy. It was the worst lengthy period of time the papacy had ever had, before or since. The popes were literally appointed by and the playthings of, for want of a better word, a dynasty of noble harlots, the Theophylacti. And it took the emperor and an army to break that. He did call a church council, and there were depositions, and the church has accepted them.
Did he break the pornocracy for religious or political reasons?
Both.
I see.
I mean, you remember that they were running Rome, and they ran it. They didn't just run it the way, again, I don't want to put this in too invidious terms, but they ran it the way a crime family are to run certain areas of certain towns. Some crime families. I mean, there are obviously crime families that would. Anyway, the point is that they ran it like their own thing, and they were not very good people. They were awful. So, for both political and spiritual / religious reasons, they had to go, and go they went. I mean, imagine if you that you could loosen the I don't want to say which town, but it's the other side of the river, from the grip of the Manichaeis. Now, wouldn't you do that?
Yes.
There you go. Would you do that for religious reasons or political ones?
Purely religious.
Oh, well, old man Manichaeis is supposed to be pretty religious, pretty devout.
I beg to differ.
What are you talking about? Would you believe that he endowed a chair of liturgical dance studies at Loyola Marymount?
Exactly.
Yeah. See, you guys have never done anything like that.
No, we haven't. Very proud of that.
Oh, well, to each his own, I guess. But suffice to say that I would have to say that the judgment of the church historically has been very favorable to Otto I, just as Sigismund, who ended the Great Schism, has also been applauded. Normally, this would not be a good thing to have happen, but those were not normal times. there are three major roles in the faith: priest, prophet, and king. The priest and king are easy to see. The prophet, he's difficult because he operates outside the norm. But I can say that both Otto the Great and the Emperor Sigismund, both emperors, definitely fulfilled a prophetic role in exercising their imperial office.
Okay, I want to hone in on one aspect of Robert's question. He says, were these papal deposals valid? So my question is, what makes a deposal valid? I mean, we seem to think or feel that they're valid because they did a good thing.
And the church went along with them, and the people being deposed went along with it in the end.
But what if, you see, so is that what makes a deposal valid, is whether it was actually ended up being good? Like, what would happen if the emperor...
Look,
yeah.
There have been times in papal history where things are a little weird and cloudy. Pope Vigilius, for instance, who, let me see if I can remember. I know I can't remember the exact thing unaided, so I'm going to cheat, ladies and gentlemen, do something I don't normally do.
You're supposed to know everything, Charles.
Well, I do know enough now in this to look it up.
Well, while you're looking up, I'll just continue sort of stating my question, which was, what would happen if a pope is trying to do the good thing, honestly, generally trying to do the good thing with a deposal, but it ends up going poorly? Does that make it invalid?
Well, these are questions that are beyond my pay grade. But in the case of Silverius, Pope Silverius, who reigned 536 to 537, he was deposed by the Byzantine emperor's general in Italy and replaced with Pope Vigilius. Now, Silverius was canonized. Vigilius was at the time the papal ambassador in Constantinople, and when Silverius was overthrown, Vigilius was put in his place by the emperor while Silverius was still alive. But after Silverius died, he was recognized as pope by the Roman clergy, who would refuse to accept him initially. And then, because he wouldn't go along with something the emperor was trying to do, ended up being taken to Constantinople and died in prison. Or, no, I'm sorry. He didn't die in Constantinople. He died in Sicily on the way back from prison. He did get out.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are chapters in papal history that are, shall we say, messy.
I think they're important to get to because our time is messy, and sometimes I am under the impression that people think that the history of the church generally hasn't been messy, or there's some easy, clear-cut distinctions you can make for everything.
Not everything. Sometimes things go haywire.
Yeah.
And then what church historians do is they try to forget about them.
Exactly. That's why I think it's a good thing to touch on these areas. Can you tell us any more about Otto?
Well, he was kind of a rough and tumble kind of guy. He was the son of Saint Adelaide and Henry I. And then his wife was Saint Matilda. Or maybe it was the other way around. His mother was Saint Matilda, and his wife was Saint Adelaide. His wife was Saint Adelaide. Um, he married his son Otto II to a Byzantine princess, Theophano, who's up for canonization. So you've got these three ladies, and Adelaide and Theophano did not get along very well, I have to tell you.
The two saints?
Yep.
That's what they say. It takes a saint to get along with a saint.
Well, especially when you're talking about mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law.
Do they know what they differed on? Like what?
My son, the emperor. You know, who can talk about the way of a mother-in-law with a daughter-in-law? This is such a difficult thing. It's like the old joke. So, Mrs. Nussbaum, how is your daughter? Oh, my daughter, it's wonderful. The man she married is a living saint, a prince among men. He takes care of her, let me tell you. Waits on her hand and foot, gives her every penny he makes. Oh, and how's your son? I understand he just got married. Oh, don't talk to me about the witch he married. What a monster. She takes every penny he makes him wait on her hand and foot.
That's good, Charles.
It's a very old joke.
I love it. Okay,
So in the end, Otto II and Theophano had Otto III, who, especially because his mother was a Byzantine empress, had very, very ambitious plans, but because he died so young, they didn't come to fruition.
Dare I ask, what were the ambitious plans?
The restoration of the Holy Roman Empire, of the Roman Empire, that to unite the East and the West, Britain to Persia.
How do you do that?
Well, it's not as easy as it looks. One country at a time, I suspect.
It looks so easy, though. You know?
I know. I know. But amongst other things, he wanted to permanently move the center of the empire from Germany to Italy, to Rome.
Okay.
And the Pope of the time, Sylvester II, even took the name because he saw Otto as the new Constantine, and he would be Sylvester. So, sadly, it was not to be.
All right. A couple questions from Connor.
All right.
Greetings, Charles and Vincent. A couple questions for you. How are kingdoms created? Does there need to be some sort of precursor kingdom? I ask because I remembered a professor in college state, and I'm paraphrasing, there had to be a precedent kingdom. You could not just create a brand new one. End quote. The professor in question was lecturing on the creation of the Kingdom of Sicily, where she claimed the Pope discovered a title and had palpable bias against the church. She was an atheist.
Of course she was. But in the Christian dispensation, kingdoms have usually been founded with church approval based upon various historical accidents. I mean, in Spain, for instance, the kingdoms that eventually became Spain and Portugal, we dealt with this in another episode. They started out as little areas of resistance against the Muslims. And each of these, in time, became major kingdoms. France, of course, started out as the Kingdom of the Franks, which eventually expanded to be the Carolingian Empire, and then was divided into West Francia, which became France, East Francia, which became Germany, and then Lothringen, and which was Lorraine, and Italy. England resulted from the merger of the 7 kingdoms that the barbarians had set up on the ruins of Roman Britain. Scotland was the union of 4 kingdoms, which were again ethnic. But it was not what you would call a... Now, Bohemia, Poland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, these kingdoms all very much were a barbarian leader converting and the church confirming him as king.
Okay. What about some of the other continents? What about like kingdoms in Africa or Asia?
Well, I mean, they started under their own, except for Ethiopia. They started under their own aegis, usually through conquest.
But see, I kind of point to that because those seem to more clearly prove that the atheist professor is wrong. Right?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Because there's no precursor kingdom.
No.
Yeah. So.
Although, if you look at China, you have the reign of different dynasties over one empire. Japan, time out of mind, you've had the one dynasty they have now.
Okay. Before I ask my second question, I've given a lot of thought and prayer, and I'm happy to say I am returning to school to get my master's in history. And I was offered a graduate assistantship to cover my tuition. I'd be lying if I said you both weren't hugely impactful on my decision, so I'd like to take a minute and thank you. Thank you, Charles, for your incredible passion, knowledge, and insight. And thank you, Vincent, for your ruthlessness in crushing all that stands in the way of your goals.
Isn't it great that someone finally understands you?
Connor, you nailed it. It's so rewarding to hear that. That somebody really understands me.
It's the Italian Magyar thing.
It is.
You know, you don't have to burn down a village to loot it.
wait a minute. What's the communist one? You need to destroy a village.
Sometimes you need to destroy a village in order to save it.
Okay. And so you're saying you don't need to burn down a village to loot it.
No.
That's smart. I mean, if you burn it down, what is there to loot? That's stupid, right? And also, what are you conquering? It doesn't make any sense.
And what can you come back to periodically to get to the pay protection?
That's how the Khans conquered, right? It's basically they gave people an ultimatum, like submit or we're going to destroy your city, right? Yeah. But did they give people a choice though, or did they just do it?
Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't.
It's interesting. Okay. By the way, that leads me to another random question. Does that mean that Polish people have Mongolian blood and stuff like that? And Russians? And probably Italians and everybody, right? But I mean, it's probably everywhere. It's just interesting. It's fascinating to me. Because now actually I'm reminded of a question where I don't know what the specialists are, but they say that everyone has descended from Charlemagne because of everyone living today. Yeah. So given the incredible reproductive powers of the Khan dynasty, probably the same would be true for them, no?
Yes, Genghis Khan is supposedly has more descendants than anybody else in history.
Wow.
But there are 2 points I would make in that.
Okay.
Firstly, do you remember Charles Bronson?
Yes.
He came from a very unique ethnic group. He was a Lithuanian Tartar.
What's a Tartar?
Another Asiatic people that fought alongside the Mongols and the Tartars.
Okay.
And a group of them came to Lithuania. that were used as bodyguards by the Dukes of Lithuania. And they have descendants who are called Lithuanian Tartars to this day. And Charles Bronson was one of them.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
There was a great cartoonist who I thought was terribly funny called Kleban, Kleban, Kleban.
Okay.
One of his cartoons shows this typical Beverly Hills.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Cat's eye glasses.
Can you say that again? Can you say one of his cartoons shows?
One of his cartoons shows a typical Beverly Hills housewife with a big beehive hairdo, cat's eye glasses, grinning from ear to ear. And this Mongol chieftain has his arm around her, and he's also smiling into the camera. And the caption is Genghis and Sylvia Khan, K-A-H-N.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Genghis and Sylvia. You know, they're very nice people. They moved into the yurt next door. They're really wonderful. I love Sylvia. She's such a nice person. Genghis, I don't know what he does for a living. Now, mind you, there used to be a Chinese place on Fairfax, the great Jewish street in LA, called Genghis Cohen.
That's awesome.
Well, they had an Italian place, which I think you'd appreciate.
What?
The Kosher Nostra.
Are you serious?
Yes, quite serious.
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous.
Genghis Cohen and Kosher Nostra.
All right. So
if you want kosher Italian, kosher Chinese, that's where you went.
Wow, we really got sidetracked on this question. That's a sign of a good question, Connor, that you
That's true.
allow us to go on these tangents. But anyhow, returning to your awesome question. So he says, seriously, though, thank you both for very much inspiring me. Thus, my second question is on staying sane inside the insanity. Okay. Returning to academia, especially in this role, will inevitably place me in situations where I will have to confront the insanity. Pronouns, gender confusion, general leftist thinking, etc. Do I stand up against it, or do I play the game? I know I want to do the former, but it would be more prudent to do the latter. Also, what are some ways to maintain the sanity? I know this time is going to be challenging in a multitude of ways, so if I could ask for prayers on my behalf, it would be much appreciated. Any other bits of advice for a graduate life would be welcome also. God bless and thank you.
Well, let's start with the prayer, shall we? We'll say a prayer for Connor that he get through it. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. All right, Connor. Well, I would be very careful where I went for graduate school. You may find one where they're not all that crazy. If you don't have a choice, you're stuck with it, then I would explore, I'd look for like-minded individuals. See what clubs, etc., are available. You might, in the history club or something, find people who are not nuts. A lot depends on you. I mean, how much can you stomach? And contrary-wise, how good an actor are you? And how much of a good soldier Schweik are you capable of being? That is to say, pointing out the stupidities of what you're being told without appearing to. Those are questions you have to deal with that I can't answer because I don't know you. So you've got to take a really good inventory of yourself. How much of this stuff can you take? Also, see what you can see if there are any decent professors at your place. There may be. Even Harvard has one or two. So look around.
Yeah. Masters in history, just go to Christendom.
I don't think they have a graduate school.
Oh, that's too bad.
Ave Maria might.
Okay. Connor says, P.S. One more thing. I took your advice on reading 10 pages a day, and it has worked amazingly. By the time you read this, I will be done with Blessed Charles of Austria. And I have to say, it was a wonderful read and an emotional roller coaster. My next goal is to finally read Lord of the Rings. Everyone listen to the advice. 10 pages a day. Eventually, I couldn't stop with 10. Put the advice into practice on any number of books from Tumblr House, where buying over $25 gets you free shipping and handling. They're practically giving them away. Be the first on your block to have books thrown through your front window from a mysterious black limousine and have the authorities deem it an act of God.
Very true, very true. A lot depends on where you live, of course. Some authorities are more understanding than others.
Oh, that's great. Connor, do you want a job?
He does seem to get the program all right. That's for sure.
Okay, so let's see here. Looks like we're just around the hour mark. Sorry that these episodes are kind of on the short side, ladies and gentlemen. It's tough. Charles is a real trooper for even doing episodes these past few weeks, in my opinion, because he's got so much medical stuff going on between, stuff happening previous weeks and being under the weather this week. So we thank you, Charles, for what is this? Yeah, the fake version of Tylenol, the Austrian version.
No, that's this stuff.
Oh.
But this, no, this is my COVID-19 test thing. When the test is ready, I'll be able to access this thing and find out if I passed.
Oh.
So when that happens, we'll see. I mean, if I don't have severe symptoms or anything, then I'll just be stuck here until the 10th of May in this room. But obviously, if I do get symptoms, we'll deal with them whether they're severe or minor. And if it's negative, then I'll get out sooner than later. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It might be rough, but I think you're going to be okay, Charles. My brother had it. His entire family had it. My sister's family had it.
Well, my brother had it, and his family had it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, Andre had it.
And he's older than you, so.
Yeah, and it was just a relatively minor thing. But, my friend Alexander Chugel, the Pachamama man, who's so terribly tall, he had a very bad case of it.
Yeah.
He's only 23, but he's also very tall.
That's weird, but he looks fit, Looks in good shape, healthy.
All that, but he's very tall.
And
you'll find that very tall people tend to have respiratory problems. I suspect because their lungs have to work harder.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But he's a leading anti-mask activist. And of course, having had it and having been close to the Reaper, he's in a position to talk that many others are not.
Yeah, it must totally change your perspective. Like the fact that you go through it, what the whole world is scared to death about, and it's like you're Superman or something, Like
I guess.
Like you see that it wasn't. Well, I don't want to go overboard, but it just must be an empowering feeling.
Let's just say this. I'll tell you, if I turn out to be negative, considering how close I was to the person who had it, it's really going to make me wonder what you've got to do to get it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've said this on the show, but over here it's absolutely ridiculous. I've publicly stated before, I love going on walks. I always go on walks in my neighborhood. Love walking around the neighborhood. And in a normal sort of suburban street, I'm walking up one side, and a person walking on the entire other side of the street, they'll mask up. 20 feet away from me, outdoors. Yeah. It continues. I'm like the only person who doesn't wear a mask. I mean, going for a walk, and everybody is just so scared to death. It makes me sad. It really makes me sad because, honestly, if this thing was half as contagious as these people make it out to be, we'd all have gotten it by now. I mean, a disease so contagious that in the open street, 20 feet away, you can get it?
I mean, let's face it. There are a couple of things going on at once. One is that on one level, people are bored. I'm talking about the pre-COVID. And this gave them something to agitate about, to feel part of something greater. I mean, you remember the first few months of the lockdown, how everyone was talking about how this might be the reemergence of a better civilization and this and that. And of course, our masters have gotten into the act with the so-called Great Reset. I don't know.
The one good thing, though, is I keep checking the numbers daily. I'm sure everyone else is. And those numbers are going down. The deaths in the past, like in the month of April, the deaths dropped, at least in California, they went down 60%. They're 1/3 of what they used to be, which is great.
That's because the weather is getting warm.
Yeah. So, and the cases are going down too. So hopefully this thing is ending really soon. I know it's still tough on everybody. So.
Well.
But, you know what I did? You know what I did, actually?
Tell me.
In a local parish, the one that you got me on the black market for a confession a long time ago, they're always at sort of the front runner. I actually went to confession in a confessional. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I went to confession in a confessional again, and I thought, this is unbelievable. I don't have to like sort of out in the open sort of whisper to the priest while all these people like 15 feet away from me are just idly standing by.
I'm telling.
Oh,
I'm telling
man.
sister.
I know.
Well,
anyhow.
It just shows to go, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Yeah. So hang in there, everybody. That'll do it for this episode. Any closing thoughts, Charles?
Yeah, several. One, as soon as I know whether I'm positive or not, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And we'll post it. But when you see this, especially you patrons will be seeing it tomorrow, I guess, you pray for me. Secondly, this is Loyalty Day and it's Law Day. So, wave that flag. Lit that barge. Tote that bit. Well, all right, forget that. But
we'll follow your lead on this one, Charles. What are you doing for Loyalty and Law Day? We'll follow your lead.
All right, fine. I told you. I honored the memory of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton.
What button are you wearing today? I forgot to ask that.
Oh, the Gebetsliga.
Oh, yeah. People had asked me, is Charles really in the Gebetsliga? And I said, yeah.
This is the pin.
Yeah. There you go. Are you an officer? Are you a big shot in the league?
No.
Why
just
not?
a minor servant in the kingdom. But I am wearing my club tie for the Players Club in New York. Oh, when will I see it again? When will I belly up to that bar in that certain club where the bartender always fills the glass so high that if I don't take a couple of sips just as it's sitting there, I can't lift it. It's a way of making me give obeisance.
All right. That will do it for this episode. I'm Vincent Franchini signing off and reminding you that if it's Monday, it's off the menu.
The soul you save may be your own.
Smooth, Charles. Smooth. Perfectly executed. All right.
Well, indeed. You know why, don't you?
Why?
Well, John at the bar is a friend of mine. You didn't really think we were going to get out of here without one Billy Joel reference.
I actually did. I actually did.
You know...
It was nice, but life goes on, Charles. Life goes on. We have to move on. We can't do these things forever. We can't serve... well, actually, we could serve mackerel forever. But everything else, we have to move on.
Well, all right, fine. Just remember that Mama Leone left a note on the door.
What'd it say?
I don't remember.
All right. We'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.
I hope so. God bless you all. Take care.